Hey, welcome to Angling Acumen, and today we're going to do another installment on our Forgotten Classics series, and the topic for today is the Arbogast Jitterbug. Now, Fred Arbogast designed the Jitterbug back in the 1930s, and it was introduced to the fishing public in 1938. Throughout the 1940s, it rapidly became the most popular surface bait across the country, and continued to be so throughout the 50s, 60s, and well in the 70s. But in recent decades, not so much. Now, if you're old like me, the odds are you own at least one jitterbug. But if you're a younger angler, particularly under 30, there's a good chance you don't even own a single jitterbug. And there's a reason for that. In my opinion, the reason for that is because jitterbugs just aren't popular in tournament fishing. Because the jitterbug has to be fished slow. The jitterbug, the way it's designed, has a relatively narrow range of retrieve speeds that you can use it at. And if you fish it too fast, the lip is just going to plow water forward and the bait's going to just come straight in with no action. By the same token, if you fish it too slow, the water's not going to provide enough resistance for the lip to give it that characteristic wobble action and gurgling sound. Most tournament fishermen today want faster moving surface baits like buzz baits or prop baits like the Berkeley Chopo or the River to Sea Whopper Plopper. Even walk the dog type baits like the Zero Spook can be fished at a fairly aggressive cadence and cover water much more quickly than the jitterbug would. But in my opinion, if a bait's not widely used, or at least moderately used in tournaments, it's very difficult to become mainstream with other fishermen. Now, the majority of fishermen, including bass fishermen, are not tournament fishermen, but they still want to use the baits that the tournaments are proving are the go-tos, the things to use. And you might have baits that have pockets of popularity in certain waterways or certain water types across the country, but overall, if a bait's not being widely used within the tournaments, then it's not going to be mainstream, and the jitterbug has kind of fallen into that class. So the jitterbug, like other baits that aren't widely used in the tournaments, just aren't going to be part of the mainstream. But it's still an incredibly effective surface bait. Oh, what do we got? On the jitterbug. Such a classic bait. All right. First fish of the morning. All right. Whoosh, he's gone. Now let's put things in perspective. As we already mentioned, the jitterbug was introduced to the fishing public in 1938. Do you realize the jitterbug has been around longer than Cher? No, I'm serious. This year, the jitterbug is going to celebrate its 88th birthday. The jitterbug has been catching fish around 8 years longer than Cher's been on the planet. Now, if you're one of those anglers that doesn't even own a jitterbug, or even worse, you own one or more jitterbugs and you're not using them, you got to fix that. Jitterbugs need to be a part of your fishing strategy. All right, should we catch another fish?
Yeah!
Ooh. Get away from that tree. We're gonna use a net. He's got a mouthful of trebles. There we go. Liking the jitterbug this morning. All right. Jitterbug. Here we go. That was nice how he just come out of that tree just perfect. Now there's been a number of different versions of the jitterbugs over the year, but by and large, the original design is the most popular. And there's 3 core sizes still remain. It's in a 2-inch 1/4 ounce size, a 2.5-inch 3/8 ounce size, and a 3-inch 5/8 ounce size. And that makes up the core of the jitterbug sales, and still offered in a large variety of colors. So something like 15 color options that are still available for the original jitterbug. Now, a number of years ago, they introduced a jointed version of the jitterbug, and that still has a pretty good following too. That comes in a 2.5-inch and a 3-inch size. Not quite as broad a color selection as the original jitterbug, but still a number of color options. And the jointed one's going to have maybe less of a wobble with its action and more of a wiggle when you're bringing it in, and then a different kind of sound to it too. So a different option and something else for people to play with. One. Now, this is the big guy. This is the largest jitterbug, and it's almost 5 inches and an 1.25 ounces, significantly larger. This is the 5/8 sound, the largest of the originals. You can see quite a bit bigger lure. And when this was first introduced, Arbogast marketed it as the musky jitterbug. And this is kind of interesting. They promoted it for muskies and large northerns. And then over time, they changed the name of it. They made it the Magnum jitterbug. And they found out one of the smart things that Arbogast did is they put a lot of photos in their catalogs that customers had sent in of fish that they caught on their lures. And obviously they were seeing lots of big bass caught on this bait, so they didn't want to stereotype it as a musky bait, and so they changed the name of it to the Magnum. And in 1997, Pradco purchased the Arbogast Corporation, and they simply call it the XL or extra large jitterbug, which is just good marketing. Because overall, there's going to be more fishermen in states like Texas and Florida catching giant bass on this bait than there are muskie fishermen up in Wisconsin and Minnesota catching muskies on it. Don't get me wrong, this is a great muskie and a great northern bait, but there's going to be far more bass caught, and it's just from the sheer numbers of fishermen out there pursuing bass with it. One. Now, using this for large bass isn't confined to the South. Just a couple mornings ago, I was out throwing one of these for muskies, and let me show you what happened. Oh boy. He's in the weeds. What do we got? It's a big bass on the musky jitterbug. How cool is that? Around, weeds and all. Fishing for muskie on caught a bass. How cool is that? There we go. Look at that. All right, should we catch a couple more fish?
Yeah!
Ah! Get away from that trolling motor. Wow. Ah! Wow. Oh, I don't believe I did that. Wow, there's a nice one. Look at that. All right. Good way to start this morning. Using the little 1/4 ounce 2-inch jitterbug this morning. All right. Holy cow, I didn't even start to retrieve and he came up and ate it. How do you like that? Never even turned the reel. That's when you know you got a good bait on. It doesn't even have to move to catch the fish. All right, it's definitely turning into a jitterbug type of morning. Once again, the jitterbug is going to be 88 years old and it's catching fish just as good as it always has. And if you're not using it, you should be. Hey, if you like today's video, think about subscribing and we'll see you next time. All right, that's the cast that's going to make me famous. Any second now. I can feel it coming. It's gonna happen. Maybe next cast.